Dr. Eva Omeozo, founder of Proctem, joins us from our Abuja studio to help us look at what has been happening in our oil and gas. A little bit of it because it's really wide. And then let's see what to expect. With all of these disruptions going on, what can Nigeria expect in 2026? Dr. Omeozo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nini.
Great. So let me just do a bit of recap of what we know that happened in the oil and gas sector for 2025. We saw that crude oil and condensate production average, and the average was at 1.64 million barrels per day for most of the year, but that saw an increase. That indicated an increase from what we had in the previous year, 2024. Benchmark target production about 1.8 and 2.6. Of course, we know we didn't meet that for last year, but we saw a lot of rig counts being introduced. By late 2025, we had seen a significant growth. An estimate was about 17 to 18 active ones. We also had the NNPCL asset divestment program. And I think this has even spilled over to 2026, the bid round, to reinforce the lost decade, which Nigeria did not conduct a bid round for 15 years. And reports believe that that led to the low production that we've had. And now that we have more active rigs, perhaps that would help. But from your perspective as a player in the field, in the oil and gas sector, how would you describe 2025, and what are the factors that will spill over to the outlook of 2026?
Thank you for the opportunity to share my ideas and opinion concerning the industry in the last year and also looking forward in the current year. I think in the last year, Nigeria has made significant progress in terms of our ability to grow production and minimize disruption of supplies, especially with regards to tapping of crude from the pipeline that had characterized the upstream sector in Nigeria in the past couple of years. So that has boosted investment confidence, like for various, both local and international, for which reason I think is part of the reasons that we see that NUPRIC conducting the current bid rounds and the interest that it has generated. We have also seen the transparency that the current dispensation has introduced in the process of attracting such investments. I think the hope is that the current rounds will lead to potentially about $10 billion of investments that can be unlocked across all the various terrains, from onshore to deep offshore and shallow and frontier terrains. But with regards to Nigeria, we have seen, we've seen the production grow up to 1.6 million barrels per day. And until recently, we have been seeing certain sentiments about supply, especially with what happened recently in Venezuela, which kind of triggered sentiments that would have significant volumes coming into the market, potentially contributing to recent depression in the prices. I believe that this is temporary effect, considering that the volumes that are expected to come from maybe potentially from Venezuela into the market would be quite. It's not the type of crude, for instance, in the first instances, is not the volume. It constitutes just about 10% of the total global supply. So you're talking about the heavy sour crude, which just about 10% of total global supply, of which you have about 100 million barrels per day that comes into the market. So I think it's just a temporary disruption that will rebalance over time. With regards to Nigeria, I think the expectation is that the new licensing round will attract investment and would see continual increment in terms of our ability to enrich the reserve base and also support additional supply in the market, particularly now that we have a lot of off-takers potentially here. You have the Dangote refinery, you have other refineries that are coming, potentially domestic demand for the crude itself, and which can be accommodated along with the opportunities for exports that we currently have. So I think that the future is looking great for the upstream sector in Nigeria, especially also we are seeing a lot of Nigerian companies coming into play, participating in the upstream sectors, especially with the recent acquisition of 20% stake in Seplat by Hairs Energy. So, and we have also seen other consolidation by the local players in the industry. And there are so many reasons to that, and how like these are expected to shape the performance performance and opportunity within the upstream sector in Nigeria.
So one of the outstanding things we saw last year was, Dangote as a price influencer, but we had a lot of price changes. So I think it was last week I had the opportunity to speak with the MD of Dangote Refinery and asked if we could expect a more stable pricing in 2026. And one thing he said to me was, well, we know that it is largely connected to global crude prices, but if we could have more supply of crude from the local front, from home, it might bring a bit of stability. Do you see us achieving that in 2026?
Yes, I think the opportunity to grow supply locally definitely boosts the performance locally in terms of accessibility of supplies to the local producers, local refiners, and depends on if we are interested in how, like, the presence of these our capacity locally now to refine crude, especially with the Dangote refinery, and also meet the demand for PMS, which is the dominant oil products that we consume locally. So I think that these local opportunities, depending on what the government wants to achieve, right? Are you trying to improve, like, if the strategy is you want to boost industrialization, now you want to make the cost of energy cheaper, or if the strategy is you want to increase the inflow of forex, right? So because if the strategy is purely boosting industrialization, so you're looking at how to make the cost of energy cost effective so that you can local producers can actually take advantage of that, right? So, but you could also be looking at both gaining on the forex end and also boosting industrialization locally, where you can find opportunities of how do we make sure that we provide sufficient supplies of feedstock to these refiners so that we are meeting local demand for refined products, in addition to potentially exporting any excess supply that's coming from them, which would be a source of foreign exchange to the country. And in addition to the effects that you also get from selling, exporting what the additional volumes that are not consumed locally actually brings into the country. So the combination of increasing your supply base, and also having these robust refining capacity locally. So all this should be like I think the approach of government should be one that that's actually informed by what the objective, like what the end goal is, right? You know, where are we intending to, what are we intending to achieve? What are the outcomes we are looking for? So and you could also imagine situations where, although you don't have subsidy already, or now we have removed subsidy from refined products, but you could also be providing the feedstock to local refiners based on naira, for instance, right? And then you see the effect of the exchange rate there, right? If you're just going to be selling crude on naira, or if you're going to be selling crude on dollar, based on dollar, right? So you see, if you have a stable FX, then you have the option to maybe the government, so what we call upstream subsidy, right? So whereby maybe the government can decide to peg the price at which these crude is supplied to local refiners, for instance, or it can decide to also sell based on what the international price is, right? So, but I think where I'm going with this is, at the end of the day, the approach that's adopted should be informed by the outcome that we want to achieve, and that is very essential. I believe, like a lot of what is currently going on in the industry now, we are seeing the gains in terms of like the stability we are seeing with the foreign exchange, the exchange rate currently, which has been stable for the past couple of months. And I think we see that evolving, and potentially if we have that consistency going forward, that would be beneficial from many fronts.
Much for all that explanation, Dr. Miozo, founder of Proctem. Thank you for your perspective and joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you.